We're back here in Berkeley, and this is the Morning Mix. I'm your host, Andrés Soto, and I'm very pleased to have in the studio Marilaine Savard from the Citizens Committee of Lac-Mégantic. And Lac-Mégantic is a city in eastern Canada in the province of Quebec, and it suffered a significant major crude by rail disaster back in July of 2013, and it has become the poster child for the dangers posed by the shipping of crude oil from the North Dakota Bakken fracked oil fields by rail around the country. A lot of the country is focused on the Keystone XL pipeline where they want to bring tar sands but down into New Orleans. But right now, there is a real and ongoing disaster. So, Marilaine, bienvenue and bonjour.
Hello, thanks for having me.
Yeah, so you're from the region of Lac-Mégantic, Quebec. And, you know, tell us a little bit about the history of Lac-Mégantic and the town itself at the time of the disaster. What was it like living in Lac-Mégantic before the incident?
Well, Lac-Mégantic was founded in the 19th century, and since the beginning, the railroad played a major role in the economic and industrial development. So it was, for us, really natural to see a lot of trains. But during the last years, the transport of hazardous materials has been increasing extremely. So we were a bit worried, but not too much that, because it was normal for us to see that train. So yeah, we got a lot of industry too that need the train. So it was like for us normal to keep the train there in the middle of the town.
And so this train that goes through town, or the town was built around the railroad.
Absolutely.
And so the railroad used for shipping a lot of materials, probably originally lumber and things like that, but now they've switched over to really transporting this crude oil. And this was going to the state of Maine, but it had to pass through Canada, right? So we're talking about from North Dakota through Canada and then back into the United States in Maine.
Maine and New Brunswick, too.
Oh, okay, New Brunswick in Canada.
Yeah, there's a big refinery there.
Okay.
Irving Refinery.
So, but, you know, you guys noticed a problem with the railroad, with the tracks itself, even before this incident happened, right?
Yeah, the railroad were in really bad condition, and it was not disable. Mm-hmm. So, yeah. So
it was bad maintenance, poor maintenance.
Absolutely. The owner of the company, the Montreal, Maine and Atlantic Railway, was well known to be
have poor maintenance for their railroad. Mm. And so, tell us about the town of Lac-Mégantic. I think it was 6,000 people lived there.
Yeah, really.
And this happened on a Saturday night. What was downtown Lac-Mégantic like?
It was a really warm night, and people were so happy, and because it was, for us, it was the beginning of the summer, at the beginning of July. So a lot of people were downtown, and it was a really, really wonderful night. And so myself, I was in Lac-Mégantic. At that time, I wasn't a citizen from Lac-Mégantic. I was living 5 minutes driving away. But that night, a coincidence, I was at a friend's place, and I decided to stay there. Mm-hmm. So I wasn't in the downtown. I was like a mile from that. But I knew that a lot of people were on the main street, and that curve where the train derailed was very close from a bar. So a lot of people died there.
Now, this place is called the Musique Café?
Musique Café bar, yeah.
And what was it like to go to the Musique Café? If someone walked into the Musique Café, what would they see? How would they feel? What would it sound like?
It was like a family place for sure, because like 6,000 people. It's a very little town, so everybody knows everybody. And that night it was playing music, and so there were 2 birthday, so there were 2 big groups having pleasure and having drink, and so the bar was full, actually. And so it was a really hard time because a few of them were on the terrace outside, and they saw the train coming really fast because it was, as you know, he was left alone on the road. So when they saw the train arriving at that fast, they knew that they got to run because the train could not cope the curve. So they ran away and they escaped. But people was in the bar. They really could not escape. They were trapped.
Wow. So, you're describing a family atmosphere, extended family and friends.
Oh, yeah.
And what was the total death toll? How many people actually died?
47.
47 actually died.
Yeah, and imagine people on the terrace really well know, they know really closely people were in the bar, and they knew already then when they were running with the fire behind them, that their friends were dying just beside them.
Yeah.
And it was impossible for them to return because the blaze was too much. It was really, really, really...
an intense kind of fire.
An intensity of...
an emotion.
Of a hot,
the heat.
The heat, yeah. Sorry.
Yeah. So there's nothing they could do about it.
Absolutely impossible.
And so this happened on a Saturday night.
I think it was a Friday
night.
Yeah.
And so with this train then derailing, I've seen some YouTube videos of it, and it looked like small atom bombs blowing
Absolutely.
up when these train cars exploded with this Bakken crude, and I know that the Bakken crude is something like 8 times more explosive than regular crude oil because it's so thick when they bring it up out of the ground from fracking that they have to mix it with chemicals just so that it can be transported either via pipe or through a train.
Exactly.
And so these are like rolling bombs.
Absolutely. It was like atomic bomb, like you said, because we had, I think, 7 or 8 explosions, and they were huge. It was the whole town. Was arranged, like in a day. It was like an apocalyptic scene. Absolutely.
And the fire department couldn't do anything about it?
No, because it was a chemical mix, and so it was impossible to extinguish with water. It was just like, okay, what we're going to do now?
Yeah.
A big out of control. And it was, going around the buildings and trees, and it had an immense disaster area. It was like 50 football field.
Wow. So it's a huge area of what used to be buildings, commercial buildings, homes, just wiped out.
Absolutely.
And what about like the city hall or the town church, the parish, or anything like that? Did they suffer as well?
No, the church was just beside, and we don't know how, but she's still there. It's still there. And the citizen hall were more far, so it's okay too. But there's a few buildings, a kind of maybe 30 buildings are still there, but they are full contaminated in the ground because the oil was flowing for the water. Flowing
through the streets and going into the creeks and down into the lake.
Yeah, but for the drinking water on the ground. You have
the water mains. The water mains.
Yes.
Yeah,
so
okay.
the oil entered in that canal.
Oh, wow.
And it spread everywhere in the downtown. So
Wow.
even if it's not burned, it's highly contaminated.
So they've killed the heart of the town.
Absolutely. We just don't have any downtown there's.
Now, I've looked at some of the victims of this, and I believe one woman was like 94 years old, 91 years old, something like that. She was the town baker. Everybody knew her for her baking and that sort of thing. And what was the youngest person? How old were they?
I think she is 4.
4 years old.
Yeah, because they're just upstairs of the bar. There were some apartments. Yeah. So there were family there sleeping,
Wow.
And I think there was 2 babies like this, 2 little children died.
Wow.
Yeah.
And so so that happened, and in the aftermath, there's contamination of the city itself because of the residues, the oil residues. But some of it also went into the river and the lake nearby, Lac-Mégantic itself. And so now there's some pollution there. Has that been cleaned up yet?
Well, the river, they do a big effort to, because that river, the Chaudière Rivers, is flowing down through other towns that having their water on in. So the government say that everything is okay now for drinking the water because they are treated it for sure. But as we know, is the sediment, the bottom of the river is still very affected. And I think because they are saying that the Mégantic Lake is okay, but I think that the sediment are still contaminated too.
Yeah, because
and the ground.
Yeah, because once the benzene evaporates, then the thick oil sinks. It's so dense it sinks.
Yeah, at the bottom. And the ground, well, for sure that is still a lot of contaminating, and because of the winter they stopped the excavation, but soon when it's going to be warmer, they're going to all normally. I hope that is going to be this. They're going to all extract the soil and completely get that contaminated out.
And any idea on how long that might take to clean that up?
They're saying that 1 year.
A whole year.
Till December 2014.
If we don't have another bad winter or something like that.
Yeah. Well, it's going to be hard because, the other big issue is that a lot of businesses need to be relocated because they just cannot do business now. So there's a plan. It's just the neighborhood beside the other side of the river for having that new center, that new downtown. But they are they are actually doing expropriation from the residents that are there to receive that new business in that neighborhood.
Oh, wow.
So it's going to be a hard time because we're going to have that site, that construction site from the contaminating, and we're going to have that new site for, so all the town going to be a beautiful mess.
Because I can see how it'll take the people who are already there, and they're getting pushed out so that new people can come in, and the new people have suffered this trauma, this disaster.
Suffered. Yeah,
and so
and they are already, in the big grief.
Yeah.
Everybody is still paralyzed, kind of. They are overwhelming.
So, so you come down here to the Bay Area, and you're going to be presenting you presented Monday night in Pittsburgh at a community forum about the crude by rail at the Westpac project, and then last night you were in Martinez with another set of panelists talking about that, and then Saturday you're going to be at the Bobby Bowen Center in Richmond at 1021 McDonald at 12 noon, and you're going to be part of another panel in Richmond talking about that. All these towns are impacted by the oil industry, just like, Lac-Mégantic wasn't until this incident. What is it like meeting people here in the Bay Area who share your concerns, and what is your message to them?
Well, in fact, I am really here to urge the community of San Francisco Bay Area to demand that their health and safety be put ahead of corporate profit. Because in Lac-Mégantic, we really knew that we cannot trust our government, because everybody think that they are there for giving us safety, protect us, but in fact, we really saw that we were paying a high price for letting them having a lack of regulation, because it comes from there. It was not just the owner of the train. It really comes from the government, the federal government, that don't even had good regulation for the railroad. So I'm really asking the community of San Francisco Bay to stand up and to mobilize before having other incident disaster like this.
So we've been speaking with Marilaine Savard, who's from the Citizens Committee of Lac-Mégantic, Quebec, who suffered this tremendous loss, an amazing chemical disaster because of a crude by rail disaster, a train that derailed in their town, a train that was set loose, no emergency brake, human error, it appears. And so she's down here to bring the word and share the message of the people of Lac-Mégantic to those of us down here in the Bay Area who are concerned about the big oil's plan for crude by rail into the Bay Area of this North Dakota Bakken crude. So you can see Marilaine and myself. I'll be the moderator of the panel. It's called From Lac-Mégantic to Richmond. That'll be Saturday at 12 noon at the Bobby Bowen's Progressive Center. That's at 1021 McDonald Avenue in downtown Richmond. And you can come and learn some really good information and see what the real risks are to our communities here. So, Marilaine, merci beaucoup for coming down here today, and we look forward to the meeting on Saturday.
Thanks a lot. My pleasure.
Okay.